Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Slow English Stories. This is the perfect place for you to improve your listening, expand your vocabulary, and practice your English speaking. Today, we have a very special story for you called The Stars of Santa Rosa. It is a story about travel, unexpected trouble, and a connection that changes everything. As always, I will read the story slowly and clearly. If you want to improve your pronunciation, you can use the shadowing technique by repeating the sentences after me. Are you ready? Let's begin. My name is Emma Carter, and this is the story of my trip to California, a journey that started as a simple vacation but turned into the most profound chapter of my life. I have always been a wanderer at heart. I love the feeling of a fresh passport stamp, the scent of unfamiliar streets, and the thrill of tasting food I cannot pronounce. I had heard whispers and glowing reviews about a small town called Santa Rosa. People told me the air there smelled like eucalyptus, and the local food trucks served the best tacos in the entire state. So, driven by curiosity and a bit of hunger, I decided to go. I arrived in California on a bright, golden Tuesday. After checking into a quiet hotel with a view of the hills, I spent the evening unpacking. The next morning, I hailed a taxi. The drive to Santa Rosa was beautiful. The sun painted everything in shades of amber. I was so excited that I could hardly sit still. I wanted to see every shop, breathe every breeze, and try everything the town had to offer. When I arrived, I began to walk. The town was charming, filled with colorful murals and friendly faces. Eventually, I saw it, a bright red food truck parked near a small plaza. The aroma of grilled meat and spices was irresistible. I stood in line, my stomach growling, and finally bought a plate of fresh tacos. I walked away, looking for a place to sit, and was just about to take my first delicious bite. Suddenly, the world blurred. A man, staggering and clearly intoxicated, stumbled blindly into my path. He bumped into me with such force that my plate flew from my hands. I watched in slow motion as my beautiful lunch hit the dusty pavement. I felt a flash of frustration. I looked at him and said, "Please, you need to be careful. You almost knocked me over." The man didn't apologize. Instead, his face twisted in anger. He stepped closer, smelling of cheap liquor, and yelled, "What did you say to me? Who do you think you are?" I tried to remain calm. "I just asked you to be careful," I repeated, my voice trembling slightly. He didn't want to hear it. He began screaming insults, attracting the attention of people nearby, but no one moved to help. Then, without warning, he lunged forward and pushed me hard. I lost my balance and crashed onto the hard concrete. As I tried to catch myself, my right hand hit the ground at a bad angle. A sharp, white-hot pain shot through my arm, making me gasp for air. I cradled my wrist, certain that something was broken. Just as the man raised his hand to strike again, a shadow fell over me. A young man, wearing a worn jacket, but with a look of fierce determination, appeared out of nowhere. With one swift motion, he pushed the drunk man back. "That's enough," he shouted. The drunk man, seeing he was now facing someone who would fight back, stumbled backward, tripped, scrambled to his feet, and ran down an alley. The young man immediately turned to me. His eyes were kind, contrasting with the toughness he had just shown. He knelt beside me and asked softly, "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" I tried to push myself up, but the world spun. "My hand, it hurts so much," I managed to say. I tried to stand, but my legs felt like lead. "Don't worry," he said firmly. "I've got you." Before I could protest, he lifted me into his arms as if I weighed nothing at all. He didn't wait for an ambulance or a taxi, he simply started running toward the nearest hospital, which was several blocks away. He didn't put me down once. I remember the steady rhythm of his heartbeat and the way he held me securely until we burst through the emergency room doors. The doctors took over quickly. They checked my hand, took x-rays, and confirmed it was a severe sprain with a hairline fracture. They gave me medicine for the pain and wrapped my hand in thick white bandages. "You need to rest, Miss Carter," the doctor told me. "No heavy lifting for a few weeks." As the adrenaline faded, all I wanted to do was thank the stranger. I looked around the waiting room, but he was gone. A nurse came in to check my vitals. "The young man who brought me here, did you see where he went?" I asked. She smiled sadly. "Oh, you mean Ryan. He was here until the doctor took you back. He asked if you were going to be all right, and once I told him you were stable, he slipped out. He's a good soul, that one." I went back to my hotel the next day, but my mind was a storm. I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan, the way he looked, the way he saved me, and why he had disappeared so quickly. I felt a deep need to find him, not just to say thank you, but to understand who he was. The following afternoon, I returned to the food truck. I found the owner and asked if he knew a man named Ryan. The owner sighed, wiping the counter. "Yeah, I know Ryan. He's a regular around here, though he rarely has money to buy anything. He's a street kid, miss. No home, no family, just his spirit." "Where can I find him?" I asked, my heart aching. "He usually hangs around Maple Street," the owner replied. "But be careful, that's a rough part of town. It isn't safe for a tourist, especially with a broken hand." I ignored the warning. I had to see him. I walked to Maple Street, and the atmosphere changed instantly. The buildings were boarded up, and the streets were littered with broken glass. I felt eyes on me from the shadows. Suddenly, a man with a bandana covering his face stepped out from a doorway, a knife glinting in his hand. I spun around to run, only to find another man blocking my path behind me. "Give us your purse and your watch," the first one growled. I was paralyzed with fear. "Please," I whispered, "just let me go." Suddenly, a loud, commanding voice echoed off the brick walls. "Hey, drop it. I'm the police. We have the perimeter covered." It was Ryan. He was standing at the end of the alley, his hand tucked under his jacket as if he were reaching for a gun. It was a bluff, a dangerous lie, but it worked. The two men looked at each other, panicked, and fled into the darkness. Ryan ran to me, his face pale. "Emma, what are you doing? I told you this place was dangerous." He grabbed my hand, gently, mindful of my bandages, and we ran together until we reached a small park on the edge of the district. We stopped under a massive, ancient oak tree. The moon was beginning to rise. "I came to find you," I panted, catching my breath. "I wanted to thank you for the hospital, and now for this." He looked down at his feet. "You shouldn't risk your life for a thank you." "Is this where you stay?" I asked, looking at the tattered blanket tucked against the roots of the tree. "It's my home for now," he said quietly. I looked at the hard ground and then at him. He was so young, so brave, and yet he had nothing. I felt a tear prick my eye. I stayed for a while talking to him, but eventually I had to return to my hotel. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the warmth of his hand in mine as we ran. It wasn't just gratitude anymore, it was something deeper. Over the next few days, I made excuses to see him. I lied and said I was meeting a friend nearby, or that I was just passing through. We spent hours under that tree. He told me about growing up in foster care, about how he loved the stars because they were the only things that stayed the same no matter where he slept. I told him about my life, my travels, and my loneliness. "I have to leave in 3 days, Ryan," I finally confessed one evening. The light in his eyes dimmed. "I knew this was coming," he whispered. "You belong in a world of hotels and airplanes. I belong here." "No," I said, reaching for him. "I want you to come with me. I want to help you." "I have nothing to give you, Emma," he said, his voice breaking. "I can't let you ruin your life for a guy like me." We spent my final nights sitting under the stars in silence, the weight of our goodbye pressing down on us. On my last night, he held my hand tightly. "You gave me hope," he said. I'll never forget the girl who looked for me on Maple Street. The next morning, he walked me to the airport. At the gate, the air felt heavy. I hugged him, breathing in the scent of the outdoors and wood smoke that seemed to cling to him. I didn't want to let go. I walked toward the plane, turning back one last time to see him waving, a solitary figure in a crowded terminal. As the plane lifted off, I cried for the man I left behind, but as I looked out at the clouds, I didn't just feel sadness, I felt a promise. I knew that this wasn't the end of our script. I had his name, I knew his heart, and I knew that someday I would find a way to bring him out from under that tree and into the light. Thank you for listening to this story on Slow English Stories. Did you enjoy Emma and Ryan's journey? It reminds us that sometimes the most important people we meet are the ones we least expect. Before you go, I have a small task for you. Try to write one sentence in the comments about your favorite part of the story. Practice your writing. If you found this lesson helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new story. Until next time, keep practicing and keep learning. Goodbye.